Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Very super excited to be here. First time in Singapore, first time in this part of the world. Super excited. It's amazing to meet all of you here. So thank you for coming, and I hope you're enjoying the conference. So, as Tim already said, my name is Danijela Vrzan. I'm a Croatian that currently lives in Toronto, Canada. Before I decided to become an iOS developer, I was actually a civil engineer for a few years. It's quite a, quite a career change. Currently, I work as an iOS developer at Bally's Interactive. Aside from that, because I love iOS development, I'm also an iOS article author and a bootcamp mentor for Codeco, previously known as Revenderly, but they recently rebranded. And I also write my personal blog on danielaverzan.com. Okay, so without further ado, let's begin. So I want to ask everyone, is there anyone here that has never heard about Google? No? Okay, you're all doing your job pretty well then. How about, has no one ever heard about Firebase here? Okay, awesome. This will be easy. We can skip to the end then. Okay. All right, so Firebase is a Google's product, and it has a lot of services they offer. So one of the products, the service they offer is called Engaged. Under Engage, we have a few different services. One of the probably most known ones and popular are Google Analytics and Firebase Dynamic Links. Crashlytics is one of them as well. So let's take a look, closer look at dynamic links. So if we click on dynamic links and let's click on learn more, let's see what dynamic links are. So it says right here, Firebase dynamic links lets you deep link potential users to the right place inside your app. So it's essentially a deep link. So what is a deep link? So deep link lets you direct your users to a specific in-app view, and you probably work with some kind of deep links. There are two ways to implement deep links in the iOS app. One of them is using the custom URL schemes. Now, this is the old way of implementing deep links, and Apple does not recommend you to use it currently. That's one of the reasons why they implement universal links, which is essentially just a deep link, but Apple put their own name and label on it, and they call it universal links. On the Android we have app links. So, what are Firebase dynamic links, and why would you want to use dynamic links instead of just regular deep links? So Firebase dynamic links, they are deep links that survive the install process, and then they let you convert your mobile web users to native app users. So you can basically create a dynamic link. If the user opens that link on the website, it's going to link them to the app. If they don't have the app installed, they are going to be prompted to the App Store to install the app. And what's the amazing, it survives the installation process. So when the user installs the app and opens the app, it's going to deep link the user into that specific place inside your app, and that's actually quite cool. They are used for easy content sharing, so you can share promo codes or different types of marketing to your users and just use that. Multi-channel promotions, they work well with Google Analytics. So I created this slide here. So this is a diagram that I created as part of the Firebase Dynamic Links article that I wrote for Codeco. Here's a QR code if you'd like to take a look at it. So it shows you pretty much how dynamic links work. If I send a link, dynamic link to someone, and they open it on their iOS phone, if they have the app installed, they are going to be navigated to that specific view that I shared the dynamic link with, and they can see the content right away, and it's actually pretty cool and pretty fast. If they don't have the app installed, it's going to prompt them to download that app from the App Store. After installation process and everything, they are again going to be navigated to that specific view. Same works for the Android app. Now, if you don't have the Android app, you can present them a website that you created. And if the user opens that link on their website, they don't have the phone, they are going to see the website. So every user is going to see something. So this is the demo app that I created that we're going to build and see how this process works, how to set up Firebase, and in the end we're going to see how this dynamic links works. It's just a small, simple app called Cafe Swift that shows some cookies right here and a detail view that we're going to share later and show you how this navigation works, programmatic navigation in Swift UI. Okay, so first thing that we have to do is we have to set up Firebase. Now, most of you are probably familiar with this screen, and this is the screen that you see if you don't have any iOS projects set up on Firebase. This is just the initial screen that welcomes you, and then you click on Create a Project, and it prompts you to give a name to your project. You can give any name that you like, and we're going to give it Cafe Swift because that's how our app is called. Okay, a few clicks and it's ready to go, quick and easy. After that, you will see this screen, which you're probably more familiar with, and this is what you see if you already have an app set up. This is the Firebase console. In here, you can add all of the different Firebase services. They have tons of them. You can set up your projects, add iOS, Android, web apps, anything you'd like. So next step in building our dynamic link is we have to add Firebase to Xcode and connect them together. Okay, so we click on Create an iOS app, and it prompts us to register an app. So we have to put our Apple bundle ID, have to give our app a nickname, and we have to give an App Store ID. So this is an optional one if you have an app on the App Store, but when you're building dynamic link, it kind of goes with it. Next step is to, of course, add the Google Service info.plist file to your project. Just drag and drop it. Second or third, actually, step is to add Firebase dynamic links to your Xcode project. You can do that with Swift Packet Manager. It's really nice and easy. So the next step is to initialize the Firebase in your project so that it starts with when your app starts. So Firebase, like many other SDKs, needs to be initialized early in the app lifecycle. Some SDKs, like cloud messaging, for example, use method swizzling to hook into the app lifecycle. This allows them to intercept calls to specific methods and handle them before passing the call onto your application. So for that reason, you need to use the UI application delegate adapter property wrapper to connect the app to an instance of app delegate. However, in our case, because Firebase dynamically doesn't use method swizzling, we can just initialize the app inside our main struct, which I'm going to do right here. I like the way it looks. You will not. It's better to use the property wrapper. You will not be wrong by using that, but you can also, with Firebase dynamic links, this works as well. So in for Firebase, of course, and then just initialize the Firebase app.configure. Crashlytics will work with this as well in Cloud Firestore, but as I said, you won't be making a mistake by using the property wrapper in any way. This looks nicer. Okay, so the next step in building our dynamic link is to configure the Firebase project settings. So we go into the Firebase console once more and click on the settings, and we just have to add a few things. Now, App Store ID, if you haven't added it already, you can add it once more here. And then the final thing, you have to add your team ID. You can find this on your Apple developer account. So also, this means that you have to have a paid Apple developer account in order to use Firebase dynamic links. Okay, so the next step is to set up a hosting domain. Now, you can do this many different ways. If you have a custom domain, your own domain, your company's domain, You can just hook this into Firebase and use that. If you don't have your own domain, you can set up hosting with Firebase. This is one of the services that they provide as well. If you don't, while creating a dynamic link, Firebase gives you a free URL, a domain that you can use for your dynamic links. We're going to see that right in a moment here. So under Engage, you would click on Dynamic Links, and it prompts you to add a URL prefix. So right here, under Domain, we're going to call it cafeswift.page.link. Now, .page.link is what all free Firebase dynamic links have if you're using the free one. So you just put cafeswift or conference.page.link or wherever you'd like. They do recommend you to use your custom domain because it looks more professional, but this works as well. Okay, it's ready in like 10 seconds. It's quite fast, and then you get a dynamic link right here on the top left side. You can see it. Now you can create a dynamic link right here in the Firebase console. It has a few limitations, like you can't do a programmatic navigation with it, but you can do it for some social campaigns, sharing, user-to-user conversions. For some simple things, it's very easy to set up. It gives you step-by-step, enter this, enter that, enter a link, an image, and whatever you can configure with. Okay, the final step in setting up the Firebase dynamic links is to configure associated domains. So associated domains establish a secure association between your domain and your app, so you can provide features in your app from a website. Dynamic links use associated domains because they provide the foundation to universal links. To associate a website with your app, you need to have an associated domain file in the website and the appropriate entitlements in your app. Because we're using the cafeswift.page.link, the free URL that Firebase provides us, we don't have to add the associated domain file on our website. Firebase does all of that for us. But if you have a custom domain, you will have to do that. That's one of the requirements from Apple to make a secure connection. And then, of course, you just have to go in Xcode and under signing capabilities, add associated domain entitlements. And it looks like this. Under domains, just add app links and your dynamic link. In this case, it's cafeswift.page.link. And that's it for the initial setup of Firebase. What you can do now is you can actually test your dynamic link inside a simulator. You would just run xcrun, simctl, open URL booted, and your link. This is a command line that you can use. And we're just going to see how that works. So let's see, it should open our, yeah, it works. So without any code, without any setup, you just need to do the initial Firebase setup. It works cool, right? Okay, now, if you open this link in a website, it will tell you that this is an invalid dynamic link. And it is, because right now we're just pointing it to our app, opening the app, but if you go to the website, we don't have anything set up for the users who don't have the app installed. So we'll have to do that, and we'll do that programmatically. So the next step is to create a dynamic link. Before we start, there are 4 different ways to create dynamic links. So as I already mentioned, the first one would be to use the Firebase console. The second one, and this is the one that we're going to do, is to use the Dynamic Link Builder API or to do it programmatically. And then you can use the REST API, or you can even manually construct a URL. Your backend can do that for you. Okay, so let's go with the programmatic. All right, so we're going to create a function in our app called create dynamic link with product. We're going to pass it a product. Those were the list of products in the list that I show you in the app. And let's start building our components. So first thing that you do, you build URL components. And you can see in here that I created a simple website for this demo. So this, in here, you would add your own website if you had it. So I'm using Canva to just create a small website, and it looks like this. Very simple, just gives you an overview how the app looks like, name. You can get it on the App Store. Very simple demo website. Now, the next step that you have to do, if you can add a query if you're navigating the user to a specific view in your app. So in here, I'm using a reference. A reference is just a unique string that every product in my list has, and that's what I'm going to use to extract from the deep link and navigate user to a specific view. You'll see that later. So just add the query to the URL components and create the link parameter from components. So let's try to print this link that we created so far. And it looks like this. So we're just appending a domain and query items. I'm sharing one of the macaroons sweets. Okay, then I add a domain, which is the cafeswift.page.link that created on Google Firebase, and then create a link builder from the link parameter and the domain. Then we just have to add a few couple of things to present. There's a specific preview that you can present to your user before you navigate them to the App Store. You'll see it in a moment. So we're going to programmatically give it an App Store ID here, and then some social meta tag parameters, like a title. So I'm going to get the title of the product that I'm sharing, a description text, and an image URL. And then just let's build that long URL. Let's print it out. So this is the long dynamic link that we get by adding these social meta tag parameters. Doesn't look really nice, so this is not something that you would want to share. So we're going to shorten it, and there's a service for that as well. It's called linkbuilder.shorten. The thing with this link builder shorten is it makes an additional network call to shorten the dynamic link. So you just have to be aware of that. And it also uses more than concurrency, Swift concurrency here. They do have another method that uses closures, but we're going to use the new and shiny. And then just share your product. This is just a share sheet that you can implement. And let's print this short link. And this is how our short link looks like, which is much nicer than the 10-liner that we used to have. So this is the link that you would share in your share sheet. Let's see how that looks like. Let's share some macaroons. This is how it looks like on the share sheet when you share. It has the name of the product we're sharing. It has the cafeswift.page.link URL and the image that I put. The image is used for all of them. Okay, awesome. All right, so now that you've created a dynamic link, you have to receive a dynamic link and handle it in your app. So that's what we're going to do next. All right, so in your main, that's where you're going to call the onOpenURL modifier and to receive the dynamic link that you opened from someone shared you these awesome macaroons and you want to open it and eat it right away. So previously, when handling deep links, you have to implement application or open options and route the incoming URL to the most appropriate handler. But this became a lot easier with the new app lifecycle model. You can handle incoming URLs by attaching the onOpenURL to the topmost scene on your app. So let's see how that looks like. But first, let's print the incoming URL to see how it looks like. And this is that shortened link that we got. Okay, so let's dissect this on OpenURL. So in here, we call the dynamic links that handle universal link completion handler, making sure that there's no error of course. You don't want to put a fatal error. You want to handle it correctly. Okay, so make sure that there's a dynamic link, and then we're going to handle dynamic link. And in here, you would want to do whatever the use case is for your app, handle link or don't handle the link. But let's see this handle dynamic link method. So it has a dynamic link as a parameter. So let's make sure that it's not empty, and let's print it. Let's see how it looks like. So this is our dynamic link that when we create initially, it has our domain, and it also has a query, a reference of the item that we're sharing. So we just make sure, in here, there are different match types that you can put. I put unique and default, so whatever use case or demands of your app, you can just put that. How secure you want your dynamic links to be, so how well you want to match dynamic link. Let's initialize the deep link handler. I'm going to show you that class in a moment. We also have to parse the components of the URL. So we want to see if there's a reference. If there's not a reference, maybe we just want to route the user to the home page of our app or wherever the use case here is. But we have to parse the components and get that deep link so we can navigate the user. We assigned this deep link that we got. So it's a state property wrapper in our app main, and it looks like this. So it's a class. It has an enum of deep link. So there are two cases. One is home, which is the first list of our app that we saw, and then we have details that holds a reference to the item that we want to point the user to. And it also has a parse components method. I'm not going to go into details here. We only have so much time. I will have you provide a QR code to the complete code later so you can take a look yourself. And then, because we have to have this deep link available in our environment so we can pass it to any view that we need, we have to create an environment key in here. So we do that as well. And then we can just attach it to the environment like this. And then we're able to use it anywhere we'd like. Okay, so let's continue. Now let's print this deep link. So this is after we received it, we handled it, and we parsed the link. This is what we're going to use for navigation, and it looks like this. So details, reference, and it has a string to the item that we wanna navigate to. And then just at the end, make sure that the link is nil in case the user wants to share different links, so it doesn't hold a reference to it. Okay, now let's see how that looks like. So if I have the app installed, I open it, and let's share some macaroons. I love macaroons, you can tell, right? Share. Let's see how it would look shared on Twitter. It would look like this. We're not going to tweet it. Okay, we're going to copy the link and just, I'm going to send it to myself. And it looks like this. Okay, now if I tap it and I have the app installed on my phone, notice now, look, yeah, it's programmatically linked to the right page in the app. Now I'm going to delete the app, and let's see what happens if I click on it without the app installed. It's going to show us this preview. I'm just pointing to the Ravendel app on the App Store. I don't have any apps of my own yet. And you would install, and it would open the macaroons page. Unfortunately, I cannot show you that, but trust me. Okay, now if you have a user who's opening the link on their website, not on their phone, this is the same link, just on my MacBook. It would open the website that we put in there for the link with these delicious macaroons. Okay, cool, right? I'm not going to show you the details of the programmatic navigation because that can be another talk in itself. But as I said, you will have a link to the GitHub repo and you can take a look in there how that's working. Okay, some final thoughts. The initial setup of Firebase dynamic links takes the longest and can be tricky. I've spoke with a few people in here who came to me and they said, oh, you're talking about Firebase dynamic links. You know, I tried it and it took me so long time, like months to set it up. And I just gave up in the end. I know. When I was first dabbling with it, it took me a while to figure it out, especially with Swift UI. But yeah, it can be done. Dynamic links are also free to implement. Firebase has a free tier, which is pretty cool. So you can use it even if you're a small developer. You don't have to pay for it. But they do require a paid Apple developer account because Apple doesn't give anything for free. Sorry. And you can also implement app clips alongside Apple Dynamic Links. But there's a limitation of the operating system, which is that user has to have an app installed. It will not work if the user doesn't have the app installed. Okay, this is the demo app and the code. So do scan it if you'd like to. But it's also available on my GitHub, so you can find it later. But I'll give you some time to scan it. You can also find me later and I'll give it to you for free. Or some macaroons, maybe. Okay, so thank you very much for coming here, for being so amazing. I still use Twitter. You can find me on @Vrzan and also my website, DanielaVrzan.com. Thank you so much.